ESPN presents the 1977 Final Four, featuring the North Carolina Tar Heels, the UNLV Runnin' Rebels, the NC Charlotte 49ers, and the Marquette Warriors. Hello and welcome again. I'm Bob Lee. The year 1977, basketball met in Atlanta at the Omni to decide the champion. UCLA was not there. That was the first time in 11 seasons that the Bruins were absent from a Final Four. Idaho State knocked them out by 1 point in the second round. North Carolina Charlotte was there, ranked 17th in the country, having upset #1 Michigan in a regional final. The Tar Heels of North Carolina, they were there, but they had injury problems. Tommy Lagarde had missed a lot of time with a knee injury. The Greyhound, Walter Davis, could play, but he was hampered by broken fingers. Yet, the Heels knocked off the Kentucky Wildcats in a regional championship. There was UNLV, a team that scored points like no other team ever has in college basketball. The Rebels lived in three figures, over 100 a game. That left Marquette and Coach Al McGuire, whose street smarts and CYO strategy were about to play in the national spotlight in his last season. And we'll get to it in just a second.
An inspired Marquette team was taking on tough Wake Forest. With a regular season record of 20-7, there had been some doubt about Marquette receiving an invitation to the NCAA tournament. Al McGuire, the retiring Marquette coach, admitted that later when we visited him at his office on the campus at Marquette.
I, as a matter of fact, was planning my vacation the last 2 weeks. And when we got the bid, we were playing hot. We were getting on top of our game. And when we got the bid, I thought they had confidence. And we went out against Cincinnati at Omaha. And we're down at halftime. And it had a little bit to do with Bernard Toon at that time. We had a verbal and physical get-together. After that, we went out the second half, and we started to move uptown. So once we got by Cincinnati, which was an outstanding ball club, I thought then we were off to the races.
In 1974, Marquette missed an NCAA championship by 1 game. They were runners-up to North Carolina State. In the battle against Wake Forest, Marquette experienced shooting problems in the first half. As a result, Wake Forest led 35-31 at halftime. Al McGuire talked strategy in a language that often requires an interpreter. He started off by talking about Wake Forest All-America Skip Brown.
Skip Brown was their key, and we went to a box one, which cuts the guy's head right off. There's nobody can score against the box one, especially if he's a guard. And they tried a couple of four corners against us, and they came up dry. The four corners is a two-edged sword. You either win big with it, or you end up in Tap City.
Marquette's answer to Skip Brown was their own All-America guard, Butch Lee. The Warriors in the second half were firing on all 5 cylinders, with each man playing some of the best basketball of his career. Certainly providing a lot of offense was number 31, Bo Ellis. He finished the game with a high of 20 points. Then there was number 33, Bernard Toon. This 6'9" sophomore came off the bench when starting center Jerome Whitehead picked up his 4th foul early in the second half. In all, Toon scored 18 points, all in the second half of play. And when it was all over, the scoreboard read Marquette 82, Wake Forest 68. And Al McGuire spoke confidently about Marquette's chances at the finals in Atlanta.
So fortunately, Wake Forest missed a couple of key layups, and then we blew them out of there. And then it was off to the races. Then I thought after that, that any club in the Final Four that would beat us would have to have an excellent ball game.
And so it was on to Atlanta, Georgia, to the spectacular modern building called the Omni. That would be the scene which, for this weekend, would be the basketball capital of the world. One of these 4 teams would emerge as the 39th NCAA basketball champion, North Carolina Charlotte, Marquette, University of Nevada, Las Vegas, or the University of North Carolina. In the first semifinal game, it's North Carolina Charlotte against Marquette. Coaches Al McGuire and Lee Rose had a friendly word with each other before the game. Both teams started slowly. Charlotte was cold, and they were hurrying their shots. Marquette, patient, looking for the good shot. When Marquette missed, they relied on brute strength under the boards, getting tough rebounding from powerful number 54, Jerome Whitehead. Jim Boylan gave Marquette ball handling. His shot here put the Warriors ahead 23-9. The Mean Green had called timeout to get things organized.
And in the matter of getting one shot, they get 4 or 5.
They were tight. This was showtime. It was something that they have never experienced before, their staff or their fans or anything else. And we got them early. I thought if we can go out and be a little bit more aggressive on defense, that they'll tighten up. We got going, then all of a sudden they found themselves and played their regular game.
And their regular game was going to Cornbread Maxwell. In the next 6 minutes, Charlotte outscored Marquette 13-2. At halftime, Charlotte trailed by only 3. Charlotte, a Division I basketball team only since 1972, had staged a strong first-half comeback. Their momentum carried over. The 49ers tied the game 26-all as number 32, Melvin Watkins, connected on this shot. A minute later, Big Lou Massey popped in 2 straight jump shots. This one gave Charlotte its first lead of the ball game. The 49ers stayed in front for about the next 8 minutes. In fact, they led by as many as 5 points, but they couldn't put it away. Marquette refused to panic and eventually regained the lead as Jerome Whitehead scored on this rebound with less than 10 minutes to play. The Jerome Whitehead show continued. He scored the next 3 Marquette baskets. He looked unstoppable under the offensive and defensive boards. Marquette held the lead for 5.5 minutes. Then Lou Massey scored to put Charlotte ahead. Now the pressure was on Marquette. They called on their great guard Butch Lee, and he came through with this long jumper, cutting Charlotte's lead to 1. The clock running. Now less than a minute to play. Charlotte ahead, 47-46. Desperately trying to get the ball, Marquette proceeded to foul Cornbread Maxwell. The strategy worked. It was a 1-and-1 foul situation, and Maxwell missed. Marquette got the ball. Again, Butch Lee hitting on a tremendous clutch shot. And that put Marquette in front, 48-47. 13 seconds to go. And seconds later, Marquette's Gary Rosenberger made only 1 of 2 free throws. Charlotte called timeout to map their strategy for the final 10 seconds.
I always alternate my defense if you call timeout on me. I was playing at that time a 1-2-2 zone. And I went to a box one and I put on a kid named Maxwell. Cornbread gets the ball and makes an unbelievable shot.
It was an amazing shot. Straight in, no backboard. Immediately, Marquette called timeout. Maxwell's game-tying basket, at least to this fan, was mind-boggling. With 3 seconds to go in the game, Al McGuire discussed the final plans.
The first thing that I worried about was would Butch throwing the ball down court, because he had no other choice. We had to do exactly what the Russians did against the United States in the 1972 Olympics. And I went down to check the height of the scoreboard. When I went down where Butch was going to throw in from, I said, oh, okay, Butch, you can let it go. You can't hit it up there.
Lee just heaved the ball. Whitehead got it, shot, and the ball dropped in. The scoreboard showed no time, no points registered. But did the ball go in before the buzzer?
I went out to the outside official, and I went, good, good. He checked the other official, then he went over to the timer. And the timer is going to have to receive some type of award, because he must have thought that everyone was going to tear him apart. Because from one side were all the Charlotte fellas, and from the other side were all the Marquette fellas. And the referee said, now take your time. Was the ball in the basket? And he said, yes, the ball was in the basket.
What an unbelievable finish. Perhaps the most exciting ever in NCAA tournament history. Marquette, on a shot at the buzzer, beats North Carolina Charlotte. The final play meant so much. Let's take a look at it again. Whitehead makes a super effort to get the ball and then to get it going toward the basket.
Close call. It could have been charging, it could have been blocking, they could have been goaltending, it could have been offensive goaltending. Those 2 seconds have been run over more than any 2 seconds in the history of basketball.